All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Greater Pine Island Civic Association monthly membership meeting. Today, of course, is October 3rd, yes, 2023. And we're going to start the meeting now at 6:34 p.m. So we're going to take a peek at the agenda. If you would like to ever look at our agenda, it is online on gpica.org. You can look at it ahead of time, usually at least a few days. There's also in the back, in the entry, I try to bring at least a copy so you guys can review it in person, and you're welcome to make take your phone and take a picture of it if you'd like to follow through. So in today's meeting, we're going to definitely go over the minutes. We're going to have 2 months of minutes to quickly review. We'll have the Treasury report. We have a nominee for a Community Action Advisory appointment that we need our memberships to approve. And then we have the guests from the county and Commissioner Ruane and quite a few of the senior county staff. So we'll introduce them later in the show. Okay. Whoops, sorry. So we're going to start with the Treasury report today. So if, Mike, could you go through the Treasury report?
Hear me? Can everybody hear me? Yes? Okay. I doubt you can see what's on the screen there because I know I can't. But let me read it to you from the very top there. This is as of October 2023. The money market contains $16,764.22. The checking is now at $8,095.79. And the CD investment, which will be rolling over in late October, is $76,656.20. The total money that came in over the last 2 months, because we did not have, due to both of our speakers being unable to make it for the September meeting, we had to cancel the meeting. So we have not had a meeting since August 1st. And so the total money in since August 1st is $1,404.02. As I said, there's no September meeting because of the speakers not being able to make it. And money out, there was money in, there was 170 that came in cash payments, and that was memberships. And then there was also $1,234.22, and that was the Square memberships using a credit card, and also some lifetime memberships that we got. The total money out was $803.97. $300 was for the rental of the church in September, but in fact, they were very generous and said, no, you can actually use the money since you didn't have the meeting in September, you can use it for October. So that was that $300 for that. And then there was a $503.97 that is from the Hartford Liability Insurance Company, and that's just if somebody at any one of our meetings were to trip and fall, you can call, you know who. No, whereas somebody were to trip, have an accident, whatever, that kind of a thing, you would at least be covered with the liability insurance. Okay, so all organizations are required to have that when they're holding meetings. So that's what the $503 is. Also, there's the Chiquita lock. I'm down right around the middle of the thing right now there, middle of the page. The Chiquita lock legal defense status. We had originally committed as an organization $2,500 as the GPICA. Then we agreed to match funding that anybody would donate to us from the membership. We got a total of about $2,725 in matching funds, and so then we matched that. So that was an additional $2,725. So for we had it $1,750, but then we spent $2,500 for the Chiquita Lock, the first payment to the Chiquita Lock lawyer. So we are now down to a total of $5,450. And I recently got a letter from Mike Hannon, who's with the Matt Lachey Civic Association, and he's sort of a liaison between ourselves and the lawyer who is handling this up in outside of Tampa. And he's expecting that there will be an additional requirement of money to be contributed soon. So our total will be going down here. And this is just the very bottom there. I'm just explaining. The GPIC agreed to matching donations for all Chiquita Lock donations by memberships. We've only had 2 donations that were submitted using the Square system, which is using a credit card. And so of course, Square deducts a fee for using the system. And the 2 that were charged, one was for $25 and another one was $200. So there was a service fee of $103 and $5.30 for a net total of $6.33. So that is money that we will pay so that everything is equal, so there's no missing money, as it were. And that is the Treasury report for October. Any questions? Move to approve.
Your name? Irene Parker, thank you. Okay, all in favor to go ahead and approve the Treasury report? Any nays? Thank you, motion carried. Okay, so on the on the meeting minutes, we have both the June and the August meeting minutes to approve by the membership. They are available online. I'm hoping folks were able to review it. I do need a motion to approve the meeting notes for both months.
I'd like to make a motion to approve them. I did read them.
Thank you, Mike. So, do I hear a second? Thank you. Okay, all in favor of accepting our minutes as written? Any opposed? Thank you, both carry. So the June and August meeting minutes have been approved by membership. Okay, so now we get the great pleasure of introducing our commissioner for District 1, Commissioner Kevin Ruane. He brought with him, let's see here, we have Dave Harner, the county manager. We got Glenn Slayer, the assistant county manager, Mark Moore, the assistant county manager, Mickey Rodowski, she's the director of the community development, Randy Searchy, and Rob Price. I would thank you all for coming and attending our meeting. And Commissioner Ruane, do you have any discussion? And if when we have questions, if everybody would come to one of the microphones in the front at that time, because we have folks that are watching on Facebook, and they would like to be able to hear the questions if you had any. So, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Ruane. I'm your district commissioner. I was asked to come out to obviously bring some clarity on some questions that are out there. One of the biggest questions I've heard from this community is about the roundabout that was actually talked about. We at the county had nothing to do with putting that roundabout in for funding. I can assure you that's not what we asked for. Many times DOT will look at ways to try to move traffic. Suggestions are suggestions. They're not necessarily something we have to do. We're not moving forward with that project unless the community tells me to do something differently. The community has told me they don't want a roundabout. The other problem with the roundabout is that any roundabout, you need additional property to make a roundabout for it to make a circle. And what you have to go through as a county is we have to acquire right-of-ways. So we have to acquire additional property. So even though the legislature funded most of the project, we still have to acquire right-of-ways to the tune of $1.8 million. And the project's short about $800,000. I can assure you there's not a commissioner that has $2.6 million extra to do a project that you all don't want. So I've come here to get rid of whatever rumors are out there, to set the record straight. We're certainly not going to do a roundabout at that. We recognize there's an issue. We'll look at other solutions, but a roundabout isn't on the table. And I wanted to give everyone some comfort because we've gotten an awful lot of emails from the community indicating that we want a roundabout, we don't want a roundabout. And since it's not an item that we have money in our budget, it becomes even more problematic. So I wanted to make sure everyone understood what that issue was. So that was the biggest issue that I knew. The next issue that most people ask is where are we at with the block grant? And Glenn's done a great job of keeping a timeline. So we were awarded a registry for a $1.1 billion grant back in May, okay? We had 120 days to put together a submission of something back to HUD relative to what we thought our unmet need was. And that deadline was September 20th, if I got that date correct. And we submitted our package. I believe the package had unmet needs a little under $9 billion. A little under $9 billion. So they obviously said that our need was 1.1. We came up with a list that obviously was 9-point-something billion. So there's a little discrepancy between us and them. That's not uncommon. In New York, when New York initially received their award, it was $5 billion. It ended up going to 13. So we just met the deadline for September 20th to submit our plan. HUD has 60 days to look at our plan and have any type of direct correspondence with us. So we anticipate to receive something towards Thanksgiving and a little bit thereafter. We've had some verbal communication, but we'll get an actual written document from them. So we don't anticipate to actually come to some type of solution till the end of the year, to the early part of the year. So there's no money, because again, the award is you're going to receive this money. You submit a plan, they agree on the plan, and then we start to move forward. So unfortunately, whenever you look to the federal government, you're going to wait. You're going to hurry up and wait, and then hurry up and wait. It's unfortunate, but when you have a disaster of this magnitude, the federal government is the one with the biggest pockets to be able to enable us to do the things that are necessary. So I'm trying to give you as many updates as we have. Staff has worked very, very, very diligently on this to make sure we've listened to the community. We've had endless public meetings trying to make sure we understand what the needs are and continue to do that. We got over 5,000, direct comments. Yes, sir.
Yes, Commissioner, I've got a question.
Sure.
Okay.
They have criteria when they award this money, these grants.
Yes.
They say you got to give it to these type of people.
Yep.
So what's all the input about? I don't understand.
Okay. If you can hold on just a moment, we need to have you with a microphone because those folks that are online are not able to hear you.
All right, I'll get to them.
Hold on.
Okay.
Thank you.
I thought I was speaking loud enough. My apologies. But it drives me crazy to think this money has to stop somewhere before it gets into the people's hands.
But it doesn't stop. We don't
all
have
this input. I'm envisioning money's going to get siphoned off for this special deal or that special deal. There's people that need it. They fit a criterion. Okay, why not just not have meetings and decide where the money's going to go? Let's just get it to the folks.
I don't have it, sir.
I know you don't have it.
Okay, so I have to follow the criteria.
My point is,
I have to follow the criteria.
I worked Hurricane Disaster Charlie
Okay.
for the Small Business Administration, under the Homeland Security, under FEMA, okay? They did a good job. Now, since Hurricane Charlie, a lot of the locals have taken over a lot of the disaster assistance, okay? And I think any time anything gets into the local people's hands, and I mean the leadership, I think we're always messing up at that point, okay? And that's why I think Pine Island should incorporate, all right?
Okay.
Now, I would like to get more involved. Personally, I've tried to make two appointments to come in to see you, sir, okay? And because I won't say, oh, I'm coming in to see the commissioner for this, or I'm coming in to see the commissioner for that, okay? I don't get an appointment with you, okay? Because I won't say, okay? Now, I want an appointment with you, Mr. Commissioner. I want an appointment with you to come in to talk about this stuff. And I want an appointment to come see you.
So, sir?
Okay?
Sir, if you want to talk about this topic, why couldn't you just tell my assistant that?
I don't need to. I'm a voting person. I don't need to explain myself to see my commissioner.
Charlie.
I don't need to do that.
Calm down. We don't yell at our meetings.
Well, you wanted me to have a microphone.
Well, sir, I'll see you after this meeting. I'll gladly take my calendar out. I'll gladly make an appointment. I appreciate the respect. Next question. Yes, sir. Ma'am, sorry.
Hi, my name is Virginia Neff. I live in Pine Island Cove, or I did live in Pine Island Cove until my house was destroyed. I have purchased another home. It went into permitting on the August 21st. I called a couple times and I was told, you know, it's in the pile. I was told that it used to be 2 weeks to 4 weeks to get a permit, that it's now 2 months to 4 months to get a permit. I asked the lady, and I have found that anyone that I have talked to down there have been very nice to really try to explain things. I asked the lady, have they put out any more help? And she said, yeah, and I think she said someplace in the 20s, 26, 28 more people. But we're still 2 to 4 months behind. Shouldn't we be putting more people out there so I can get into my house, so a lot of these other people can get into their house? I guess that's my question. What are you going to do about that to push these along a little bit faster? And thank you for coming this evening.
No problem. So it's a Category 5 hurricane. Unfortunately, it's a lot bigger than Charlie. Unfortunately, it's the magnitude it is. It's going to be the third costliest storm right now. It'll probably be the most expensive storm ever. We have put on 23 people, and the commissioners allocated additional staff as well for how many more positions? Huh? So we had 12, and then we added 23 people. So I can assure you, we're trying to get people hired as quickly as we possibly can. Again, building people have a special skill set. We're trying to move this as quickly as possible. I think no matter how many people we hired, when you look at the number of claims, and you look at the number of permits we've had to file and deal with, it's just the size of the damage of the storm. It has nothing to do with, I couldn't hire 50 people because I need to find them qualified first. Okay, second, more importantly, obviously we need to make sure they're going to process the permits. When you come up with a Category 5, which nobody planned on, and you have the devastation we did, where you had $113 billion worth of property damage, it just takes time. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but I can't manufacture people that have building expertise to look through a building permit. And it just is taking longer. The gal that heads up building is certainly right behind you. We'll try to expedite anything I possibly can. One of the reasons we ask for what do you need assistance is I try to bring the people, as you see, the people that are here. As a commissioner, I set policy. That's my job. Other than that, staff actually executes and does all the legwork that's necessary to make sure you get your permit on a timely basis. We actually allocate more people, and we've done that twice already since the storm. But one of the challenges in any of these tough economies is trying to find qualified people to make sure we do that.
How do you look for those qualified people? What is your criteria, and if someone felt that...
The lady behind you certainly would answer that question much better than me.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mickey Rosdolsky. I'm director of DCD, and we have been lucky enough to have the 30-plus some positions. I was just counting through. We've been able to hire, or we're in some sort of onboarding for all but 11 of them. The ones that we're having the most difficult time identifying and recruiting are the potential employees with those licenses that we need for plan review. We have solicited through our contracted agencies. We've been bringing back retired employees on a temporary basis to come in and augment our staff. So we're working through those as much as possible. On the permitting front, we've gotten really good. We're back to next day permits. We're back on inspections that are going to be next day. It's just really that plan review area where we are still pushing through a large volume of permits. But I'm going to get your permit information from you, and we'll look into it tomorrow, okay? I understand.
I went into permitting on August the 9th. I did not get a permit for a whole new house until July 21st, or March, what did I say, March 9th and July. Anyhow, it took 5 months to get it. My question is, in the permitting office, do you distinguish houses versus fences and carports? Or is it all just, I was told it was 255,000 permits, and not all of them were houses. I think that houses should be on the top of the list. I'm paying through the nose in an apartment trying to wait for everybody to put it in. Now, I just got my house, it's put together, now we're gonna wait for an inspection. Then they'll put the water in, I'll have to wait for an inspection. I mean, we gotta get some more people in here because I wanna get in this place. Thank you.
The lady behind you can answer the question much better than me.
We want you to get into your place too. So there are different people that review the different permits. So the fence permits will just go through the front counter. It's that plan review staff that requires to have that special license that are having to look at the houses, and that's where that backlog is. And especially when we get into areas like in Pine Island where we have different flood zones, it's requiring an extra layer of review. But we are getting to them as fast as we can. We have a very dedicated staff that's putting in a tremendous amount of overtime. Again, onboarding those temporary staff. Yep.
Just to try to give some type of statistical information to people so they have some understanding, because I am more statistic driven than anything. So when the storm hit, I contacted the tax appraiser's office, and they said that there's 550,000 parcels. A parcel is an undeveloped piece of land, a commercial piece of property, a condo, a house, and everything is identified, a gas station. So there's 550,000 parcels in Lee County, and over 110,000 parcels were damaged from the storm. Some require one permit, some require multiple permits. So when you look at the magnitude of the devastation that we had, hiring people is not something that the commissioners have any reservations of doing. It's hiring qualified people. We've allocated the money, we've budgeted the people. It's trying to move. When you look at 110,000 parcels and you say there's maybe 2 or 3 on an average, talk about 330,000 permits that we're going to have to look at. I mean, it's just an awful lot of damage to one particular area. And no matter what you do, you can never hire enough people to try to process the permits that are necessary as quickly as you like. And I understand, I have a home in Sanibel that was totally demolished. I've done nothing to the property, nothing. So I understand your frustration. I understand what you're going through. It's not something that we're trying to do anything other than move it forward. We just make policy decisions, and honestly, trying to find qualified people in this economy has been challenging. It's just a reality. I'm not going to make an excuse. I'm just telling you the truth. Other questions?
I actually have a couple of questions if no one else in the audience has one. I want to backtrack a little bit to the circle issue. Some of the other questions that have come across is what's going to happen to that pot of money, and we're not going to, without you guys coming to the community to talk about alternatives or changes?
So, the first aspect is when the legislator allocates money for a particular project, if you don't take the project, you can't reappropriate the money to something else. It gives us an opportunity to address the issue as long as that issue. So if it's, you know, a stop sign or a traffic light, that's something we can use the money for, but it's obviously not going to be the full dollar amount. I can't say, well, I'm going to choose option A. We'll let the community do so, and it's only going to take me $100,000. Can I get the, you know, $2 million that you allocated? That's not the way it works.
Right.
So I can't reappropriate any of the money.
Okay, so, but if there's going to be changes at the four-way stop, will the county come to the community and help, you know, review the information?
Randy or Rob, either or. Yes, we're trying to come up with a solution, but we clearly understood that you didn't want a roundabout.
Yes.
So we commissioned an analysis to look at the intersection based on a request from the Civic Association and a lot of the citizens due to congestion, especially during season at Stringfellow and Pine Island Road. And that analysis looked at all alternatives, signal, continuing with the four-way stop, a roundabout, and some quadrant roads, which is a whole other animal. And what it told us was a roundabout or a traffic signal would basically function the same, and the signal was much cheaper than the roundabout. So one of the things that we were planning to do before the hurricane was to come out and talk to the public and get your opinions on what you want. We've gotten some people who don't want any change. We've gotten some people who want a traffic signal. We've gotten some people who want a roundabout. We've gotten a lot of people who don't want a roundabout. So, you know, we really are open to what the public wants, what the community wants for the intersection.
You say you looked at all these different scenarios. One scenario I'm asking you to consider, another bridge. We don't have the safety of an ingress and egress in the state of an emergency on this island. Okay? We don't have it. We didn't have it for years. They put in this other bridge, okay, and replaced the old one instead of building a new one down the other end where it's feasible, okay, and then getting after this one here after the fact. We're only a one-bridge island here. That's an issue. And I don't believe you looked at everything, sir. I'm sorry, because there wasn't a looking at another bridge. And for our safety here on this island, and we are, just so that everybody knows in this room, we're a positive to the county. We're a positive to the county. We supply them with more tax dollars than what we eat up. We should be looked at and considered here on the island, very seriously, okay? And I don't believe that you looked at every single option, sir, because I don't believe you looked at another bridge. And I think that's important for the safety of this island. Thank you.
So the option that Rob was talking about was the four-way intersection there, whether a roundabout or stoplight. That was the question. That was the money that was allocated. The money that was allocated was approximately $2 million. A bridge certainly would cost a lot more than $2 million.
Rob, can I ask, I feel like there are a lot of us who think that the issue is not the four-way stop. The issue is the congestion through Matlacha. And right now we have an opportunity to maybe do some things differently. I don't know. I mean, you know, certainly we all miss the historic district and we wish it was still there in all its old glory, but is this a different kind of opportunity for us for long-term planning?
Sure, I would say it is an opportunity. Obviously, property owners who lost their structures have rights, and so there's not, we can't just reinvent the wheel, for sure. We are looking at how the roadway gets rebuilt, and I think one of the points to address your concern is when we got FDOT out there to help us with getting the roadway reestablished, we put into plan resiliency measures to save the road from going under again. And so the sheet piling and the construction that you're seeing as you drive through Matlacha today is designed to prevent that from ever happening again. These sheet pile walls are 65 feet into the ground, so I don't think we're going to see the roadway wash out like that. The bridge is going to get replaced starting next summer as well. But with regards to the congestion, yeah, when you have pedestrians that are crossing the road that have the right-of-way, you're going to see congestion that's going to happen. The traffic volume in and of itself is high enough that the intersection fails at Stringfellow and Pine Island Road. So that was what we were initially studying. What we were looking at was how can we address the level of service deficiencies at that intersection. And so we looked at many different alternatives as to what we could do to address the congestion at the four-way stop today. With regards to the crossings in Matlacha, I agree. When you have heavy pedestrian traffic and pedestrians with the right-of-way, you are going to see congestion on the roadway. And it is going to have a trickle effect during season.
The thing is that we're not being paid attention to here. You guys, and I don't mean to be personal in saying you guys, but I mean, we're getting a lot of these development deals down here. We have things being annexed here in our community, and we don't like it, okay? I gotta tell you, and you're telling me, oh, we do this and we do that. As far as I'm concerned, all these folks that are political types in this area, they haven't seen a development project they didn't like, you know? And it's okay, you can go ahead and do that and start encroaching upon Pine Island and everything, and that stuff's okay, but this other stuff for the safety and the two bridges, we're not thinking about that because we're thinking about other projects, evidently. So I'm sorry, this stuff falls on deaf ears for me, sir, and I want to see my leadership, my staff and my leadership. I mean, this is the time to, I know you guys are doing a good job, I know you're trying real hard, but man, this takes more. And the fact that the state and the federal government isn't doing as much as they used to, and it's these measures have been taken over by the locals, I think it's a terrible mistake. Just a terrible mistake. I saw the response from Charlie. I saw the response from this one here, Ian. And there's a world of difference, sir, and you can say all you want about the 4 cell towers going down. That's fine. We're past that now, and we're behind.
Sir, Charlie was a storm that was not even a tenth of the size of the storm. I did too. That's how I came here. That's how I got involved. As far as annexation, you're 100% wrong because the commissioner's actually taken a policy against annexation. So we have a strict policy that we're not for any form of annexation. I can't get involved in voluntary annexation, but we've met with the Pine Island Fire, we've met with the Pine Island Water, and we certainly have a policy against annexation. So that's not a correct statement. Yes, ma'am.
There's another topic I was wondering if you could comment on?
Sure.
Can you comment on the effect of the Seven Seas decision in terms of building height and how that would affect Pine Island's plan and our building height restrictions?
Mickey, you want to lead us off? I'll finish.
Sure. So, what was it? It was last month the Board of County Commissioners adopted Land Development Code revisions that standardizes the way that we measure height throughout the county. And what that did was it established that we're measuring it from base flood elevation, and then we measure up from there. Prior to the amendments, the starting point for elevation varied throughout the county. It was very difficult for us to administer. We're all human, even our reviewers, but this was just allowing us to have that starting point and not having to reestablish it every time FEMA was going to come in and make a change to our floodplain regulations. So that has been adopted and is in effect. So this will allow people to build back what they had while also meeting the minimum flood regulations. The flood regulations?
So FEMA has what's known as base flood elevation. What we're trying to do is allow people to have the opportunity to build above base flood elevation. We recognize that we had a storm surge. FEMA obviously is looking to prevent any floods in the future. So base flood enables you to recognize that instead of being at ground, base flood may be 8 feet higher. So you're obviously trying to protect yourselves from base flood. We tried to standardize throughout the entire county because some were at the ground and some weren't. My home on Sanibel took 5 feet of water. If we measured from base flood elevation, I would have had 8 feet of protection. So I wouldn't have took 5 feet of water in my house. We're trying to standardize this so we have it throughout, so there is some room for people that want to go up to do the necessary rebuilding, that they have the additional. For me to go and rebuild my home, to go through the same thing, to put myself in the same vulnerability makes no sense. To allow the county or the city of Sanibel to give me additional 8 feet, it gives me some type of protection. A, I can get insurance, because obviously it's less of a risk. And I tell the insurance company that I flooded at 5 feet, but I'm going up 8 feet, so you have 3 more feet of protection. That's what we're trying to do from a standardized point of view.
What about the 75 foot?
So, you know, people took things and came up with what the maximum was going to be. Change in land development code sets a standard height. And again, it really takes what base flood is, and then it says how far a building is. There's no exact example of 75 feet being submitted to the county. So land development code changes are one thing. Zoning is another matter where you have to submit a master plan to actually have that take place. I always tell people, until the zoning matter comes with a master plan, you can come up with what you believe the solution is going to be at 75 feet. But that's not necessarily reality, okay? Until we actually have a plan, people always fear the worst. They come up with their own conclusions, they come up with their own analysis and their own addition. Just trying to get the facts out. We're trying to protect you from flood. We're trying to obviously recognize that we now have storm surge that we've recognized. We never had storm surge before. When you have 15-foot storm surge, how do you make policy? And you try to follow the FEMA guidelines, because FEMA sets flood, and the National Flood Insurance is covered by actually the federal government. So we want to make sure we're in compliance. We also want to make sure that we can offer you flood insurance, because part of the flood insurance you receive is a result of the maximum deduction or the maximum reduction to the premium that we receive, and we receive the maximum reduction so everyone here has a cheaper flood insurance. You may not like it, but we're trying to achieve based on the rules we have to play by. And unfortunately, what we've learned in this situation is a storm of this magnitude requires all our partners, not only the state but the federal government, because at $113 billion, the county, I mean, my whole entire budget for all 28 services is only $2 billion. We don't have the type of money to come back from this disaster. And unfortunately, I need the federal government to help. This is a storm that no one dreamed of, to have a Category 5 and 15-foot storm surges. It just is unimaginable, but it happened. So we're trying to allow people the opportunity to reinvest in their community and make sure they don't have to go through this again. That's what Rob was talking about. When you look at storm surges, the bridges that went in, not only did we put the bridges back in, but there was more than 50% of the total cost for resiliency measures to make sure it didn't flood again. So can we do more opportunities? Yes. But as you're trying to go through and you look at 11 bridges in the county failed. Not 1, not 2, 11. So we had 11 bridges. And again, the tune of the bridges to get rebuilt, our 20% alone, we didn't have the money from a county point of view. We had to go to the state, and the state put up the 20%. You just never envisioned the Sanibel Bridge to go down, the Pine Island Bridge to go down, the 2 bridges in Fort Myers to go down. You just didn't envision multiple situations where you had 5 breaches on the Sanibel Bridge. When I was the mayor there, that bridge went up in 2007. It shouldn't have breached in 5 different locations, but it did. So part of the cost, more than half of it, is for resiliency measures, so the sheet piles it driven into the water so you don't have the storm surge again. We're trying to do as much as we can proactively and trying to do this in an expeditious way. So you got on the island in 5 days, Sanibel got on their island in 3 weeks. We're trying to make the necessary repairs as quickly as we can, work the partners that we have. Has it been perfect? No, by no means. And I appreciate everyone's frustration, but you know, I've tried to come here. I think most people that know me since December, I've been here once or twice a month. If not, my office is here. I've gone to Tallahassee to represent this community. We're trying to do the best we can. Is it perfect? No. Can I do better? Sure. There's not a night I don't go to bed to say I couldn't do better. But I'm doing the best I possibly can, and honestly, I wasn't prepared for Category 5. I really wasn't, and I don't know that anyone was. And, you know, unfortunately, we have a long road, and I'm not going to tell you that we're going to have it done in a year. We're not. The type of funding we need is going to require multiple years of asking the state legislators and the federal legislators for money. And there's never going to be enough money. Insurance companies aren't settling claims quick enough. There's too many claims that are outstanding. We're trying to work through that issue. We're trying to deal with insurances that are going up. I mean, we recognize that there's a multitude of problems, and we're trying to come here to answer whatever questions we can to try to help you. That's why we're here. And, you know, I understand people's frustration. They want to scream and yell. If you feel better by doing that, great. But I'm a human being too, and I'm here trying to do the best I can. And if it's not good enough, next time I'm up for election, don't vote for me. I'm okay with that. Any other questions?
There was one other question that we wanted to address about the old developmental orders that have been on Pine Island for 40+ years that are still active, and if we have a avenue of getting those retired or sunsetted or whatever.
So I don't have an answer that you want, so there's a provision in the Land Development Code that allows development orders to be extended if they are in active pursuit. So that means that they are moving towards completion at some speed at some point. The language is very vague. I know Debbie has spent a lot of time looking at this language, and we were able to cull down a list of active development orders that in past administration of development services have been determined to be in active pursuit of completing their development. As these development orders continue to either be pursued or not, we will be given the opportunity with our new leadership in place and my staff to determine what that standard is going to be for those to continue to be extended. Mind you, the state has provided developers the opportunity to extend development orders based on emergency orders, so there's a lot of protection and extensions built into the state law that we do not have control over. But we will be looking when we have the opportunity at those active pursuits on how to best interpret those for the benefit of the community when we have that opportunity.
So I think what's missing in this is that every time you have a situation like Ian, where we have the opportunity, it'll get extended. So when you go back to Charlie some 20 years ago, every storm gives the opportunity for that permit. And again, the local legislators, your county commissioners, city government didn't make that law. Tallahassee made that law and gave the developers the opportunity to get massive extensions. So one of the challenges we have is to try to deal with what is active and trying to obviously let the legislators know of what is active and what isn't active. It's a challenge, but I can't fix something because it's beyond my power.
Yeah, it's the 40-year-old ones and the 35-year-old ones that they're supposed to be active pursuit. Those are the ones that are
unfortunately, concerned. Whether it's 20 years, 30 years, or 40 years, there's a criteria that has to be met, and the developers know exactly what they need to do to meet it, and they're able to. I can't supersede an action as a result of it. I know that's what you'd like, but I'm not going to tell you something I can't do.
Commissioner, is there any move among counties? I know there are county organizations where commissioners get together. There's no move to work with the legislature to, I mean, basically,
there's an issue.
Just took away county local government rights on a lot of development during the last legislative session. So what can we do about that?
I've been in government for 17 years. There's a thing that we all fight for called home rule, okay? We came to a particular area and the gentleman wants to incorporate. It's your responsibility, it's your right. If you want to do that, do that. But part of the problem you run into is that the legislators in both the state and the federal government basically say, we know better, and this is the rule we're going to make. Okay, so as much as I enjoy serving locally, when a legislator comes up with an action that supersedes my authority, even though I live here, because they try to have one size fits all. It is frustrating, and I understand your frustration. And when I was engaged for the first 13 years of my life with the League of Cities, there's 413, we tried really hard to fight back home rule. Okay, we're not successful. There's 67 counties. We're trying to do the same thing, and the counties and the cities are trying to do something. But unfortunately, when you're able to pass a bill and you're a state legislator, whether the House or the Senate, and it gets passed, I don't have anything other than I have to follow the law that was passed, whether I like it or I don't. I don't get to choose and pick what ordinance I like and what I don't. I have to just follow it. It's not the answer you want to hear, but I'm just telling you the reality. And what I try to do is give you the honest answer.
Yeah, I think that a lot of it has to do with the active pursuit section, because if there was a clarification,
the one thing that you could always find with any attorney is you could find two attorneys to debate any issue you want.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the language, we agree with you, because staff basically has to use a lot of resources to try to have a longer list. If we have a shorter list, I use less of staff's time. I have a longer list, I have to do that. So unfortunately, when they tried to give a criteria that you could extend the permit, it was a criteria that was very, very mild. As we just talked about home rule, if I had the ability to control my own destiny, I can do that. But the legislators obviously allowed the opportunity to make a small improvement, whatever that might be, and then extend the time. And then extend it because there's a natural disaster. And then they do a little bit more, and extend it because another natural disaster. That's how you get to 40 years. And again, I can't change that. As much as I'd like to, I can't. And I'm just going to tell you the truth. You don't like the answer, I don't either. And I would rather have my staff do something else. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
There's two places in Matlacha that still have a lot of destruction. One is where Hooked, the restaurant, is, and the other one is that house that's falling in down towards the bridge. When are those going to get demolished?
So there's multiple issues that you have with any personal property rights. So first and foremost, the personal property rights is always to the person that owns that property. Many people are indicating they're having insurance disputes and they're trying to get some type of resolution. People are not necessarily very inclined to do something until they come up with a settlement. The third thing is that as we've changing some land development code, we talked about flood issues. You're trying to have a plan what to do with your property. I have a piece of property in Sanibel that I've done nothing with for a year. It needs to be taken down, but until they give me the opportunity to say I can go up 8 feet, then I'll build. Same issue you have. I have personal property rights I have to respect, insurance claims that need to be paid, and then obviously whatever it is. If I'm aware of a particular property where we know that we've corresponded, and where if they're looking for us to take over the responsibility to demolish it because it costs money to demolish property, we don't have a problem interceding, and the federal government, I'm sorry, the state government was very much involved in doing that. They actually allowed us to do construction debris and remove construction debris, which we never did before in any other storm. So the property comes down to whose property is it, what property rights they have, what type of insurance claim needs to be done. There's multitude issues, unfortunately, we have to go through. And unfortunately, one of the problems that I hear most frequently are insurance settlements prevent them from going forward. The other thing that goes on is quitclaim deeds of property. And they always say that it's easy to change a piece of property when it doesn't have a home on it, because obviously people don't want to deal with it. When it's just a flat piece of property, you've taken a home down, people do quitclaim deeds, they take people's property and they own it. And so there are some safeguards why people believe there's better to have something on their property to give them some additional protection. So there's a multitude of reasons why, and we're trying to identify each and every property, what are the issues, trying to understand what the issues are. But this storm has more complexities than I ever dreamed of. Other questions? Any other questions?
No, you've covered all my questions.
And
Thank you very
I'll
much.
stay after, and by all means, and sir, I will gladly meet with you and make an appointment with you. But thank you for your time. I appreciate it. No problem.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move to the last order of business, and that's going to be the nomination for Community Action Advisory Committee. We have met as a board, and we have asked one of our board members, Sue Daode, to participate in planning, They participate in planning, perform evaluations, and the guidance on programs implemented the lives of low-income and low-risk residents in Lee County, while final authority rests with the Board of County Commissioners. The Community Action Agency provides valuable input to the Community Block Service Grant Program and the HUD Consolidation Plan and funding. So the position does require regular meetings that are generally quarterly. They last about an hour and a half. Public is always invited to attend. The committee may meet more often as needs arise, and Sue has volunteered to represent Pine Island, but I do need membership to vote and approve to allow Sue to serve. Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Does anybody have a question? Yeah. This is Sue. Again, thank you.
I'm Sue Daode. I did volunteer to take on this responsibility. And again, I guess I kind of view it as the liaison between Pine Island and the Board of County Commissioners in terms of low-income families and some of their needs. Certainly Hurricane Ian has created a lot of needs. This, I would believe, would be more of a long-term type communication. And I personally have been on the island a little under 10 years. My focus and interest are in water. I'm a member of Colusa Waterkeeper, and I'm working with the Right to Clean Water organization, but I'm also a member of multiple organizations on the island, and also have volunteered at the Beacon of Hope, and would like to take on this responsibility. So any questions?
Okay, I'd like to take a vote from membership if you approve Sue to serve. Does it have a count?
Just hold your hands up for a minute so we can do a quick count.
Okay. Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much, Sue, for representing the island. Okay. You'd like to make a motion? Do we have a quorum?
We do. I mean, we just voted. So
Okay.
I mean, you can make a motion. We'll let anybody second it.
That's the thing, right?
Can you come up to microphones so that the folks online can hear? Thank you. And please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Charlie Messina. I've been on this island for about 20 years or so, and I've seen a lot of stuff come and go. My neighborhood has changed over a few times since I've lived here. And this group is formed in such a way as we can't get politically involved. And so in order to help expedite the incorporation of Pine Island, which this group does not take up or hasn't taken up really yet, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to form a committee. I think I would like to call it something similar to what Estero did, and call the group the Pine Island Council of Community Leaders, if that's okay. And the purpose of the group would to be to go around and gather support for incorporation and start filing all the papers that need to be filing and such, because this group really can't do it because of the way that they're structured. can't get involved with political stuff. So once again, the motion that I'm proposing is to form a group on the island of major business owners, community leaders, call it the Council, Pine Islands Council of Community Leaders, and that way there we can get on the road and not have to worry about people nipping at our heels when we're providing tax dollars that the county needs.
All right, Charlie, thank you for the motion.
Thank you.
Does anybody second Charlie's motion?
Anyone second the motion to form this committee or this group and file it with the state? Seconded?
Can I have your name, please? David Zephyr?
And to give you a little bit more background on this, we've been talking about this for decades. I mean, decades. We had other leaders in this group, you know, looking at it, people vote. And there seems to be a divide and conquer, and let's not stay focused on this issue from others. And I'm telling you right now, it's not a question of feasibility. It's a question of control and how do you want this island to develop. And I would like to have some say in that. I believe in home rule, but there are some commissioners that don't. Told me right to my face. Thank you.
Okay. So I need membership to take a vote on Charlie's. Oh yes, and then we need discussion. So do we have any discussion? Anybody have yays or nays or have questions? Yeah, we have
Mr. Messina, I just have a question about what would be the role of this organization? This sounds like it could be an independent group.
The role of the organization is to take up all the piecework that we have accomplished at this point. We've done feasibility studies. We have all kinds of data from, I think, back in 2017. It's on the website of this group. And so what this group would do, this other group would have the proper filing structure so that we could help usher the incorporation of Pine Island and its enclaves, okay? Because we're never going to be able to stop these people, and they're not going to have control over our island and how it develops if we don't actually have a man on the chessboard. And so we need to send somebody to the legislature the way Benita did, okay? They sent Ray Rodriguez, took them 2 terms to get them through the incorporation process, okay? And we need someone to do that for us. We gotta field a candidate and actually help support that candidate so that they don't go off on their own envisionments of what they want to do. We have to stay focused on the prize, which is incorporation. And unless you incorporate on this island, you will not have a man on the chessboard in the legislature to do any of your bidding.
Charlie, I think it's beyond the purview of members to set up committees, and that the GPICA board would have to set up the committee. But there is absolutely nothing stopping from you or from any other Pine Islander from developing your own group and getting incorporation rolling. So I encourage you to talk to this gentleman who seconded your motion, and you guys can speak afterward.
We can't form a different group from this group, fine.
Absolutely you can.
I'm here to talk about it to people.
So on that same topic, at the last meeting, towards the end of the meeting, there was a lady sitting up here that asked that incorporation be brought back to the forefront of this organization and be on the agenda at upcoming meetings. I believe you had said it had to go to the board to get that. Where do we stand from this association on the process of incorporation?
We're still considering it. We're looking at what it would require from us and if we are able to even fulfill that properly for the Pine Island. And, you know, so that's part of the problem. We're a very small group of people that we don't have at this point a very, you know, a committee and individuals who are willing to invest their time and money into the committees and things like that. And once again, Pine Island did take that up many years ago, and unfortunately, 2 years ago? Oh, twice. And it has divided our community greatly. So Pine Island Civic Association has been trying to bring us all back.
I was on the board when we took it up once, and I can say from my perspective, it requires a lot of work, it requires a lot of funding, and it requires a lot of manpower. And right now, our board is just not, the reality is we don't have the human capital we need to even consider the topic. We did discuss having League of Cities representative to discuss incorporation with us, and in fact, we had that planned for our November meeting, I think, in 2022, which obviously got canceled because of Hurricane Ian. And we've discussed bringing it back, but right now we're still in such a recovery-focused mode on the island that the board just hasn't seen fit to move it forward. So that's kind of where we've stood as a board.
Thank you.
So I think I'm going to make a motion that we continue this discussion as a board and we call it a night. We end the meeting.
And if anyone wants to contact me, please do so because I'm going after this.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor, so I need a vote. So the motion.
I don't, he can't propose a committee that the board hasn't approved.
Okay.
I don't think that's legal under our bylaws.
Okay.
He can totally form a separate group, absolutely, and I would, frankly, I would encourage.
I'm just telling everybody that's here, let's incorporate, let's get it done, let's stop different around while people are nipping at our heels.
So Nadine, so that means we truly don't have a motion on the floor?
Correct.
Okay.
But I made a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. Anybody against ending the meeting? So is it all approved? Any declines or denying? No? Okay. Motion to adjourn. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending. Please look online for our meeting next month. We're going to have a few development reviews come through public meetings. So.